I just received this Ludwig Classic Maple set, and I thought I'd do an unboxing video. There aren't a whole lot of unboxing videos of drum sets, probably because it's really nerdy to do this. But I did find some from music stores, and there are just a few of them out there. So I thought, if you're thinking about what does a drum set look like when it comes in, what's the experience like, so you'll be surprised as I am when I open this, and let's see how this turned out. So I ordered this from Sweetwater Music, and the main reason I did that was because it included a free snare drum. So that's what I'm going to open now. This is a 6.5 by 14 Classic Maple, and we'll see the finish here in a second, which I've not seen in person. So hopefully it will be as good as it looks in photos. You can see it's pretty well packed there. Looks like some documentation, and of course a Ludwig drum key, which is nice to have. So this is the turquoise glitter is the finish. Oh yeah, yep. Very nice, got the keystone badges, Ludwig medium batter head, and this is the P85 AC strainer, which is the new version of the P85. Hopefully it doesn't break quite as often as a P85 does. So that's the snare drum again, 6.5 by 14, made in the United States in Monroe, North Carolina. This shell pack is configured in what Ludwig calls the FAB 22, so it's a 22-inch bass drum, 9 by 13-inch rack tom, and a 16 by 16 floor tom. So I'll open the rack tom next, and we'll take a look at that. Now, what's interesting about these, one of the things I checked on the box is that they are sequential serial numbers, with the exception of the snare drum. So they were produced probably at the same time, built this way, and then shipped off to Sweetwater. If you're looking for that good free snare deal, it's only available on their in-stock kits, and the way that my salesperson explained it to me was that they will continue to offer them in certain finishes until they run out of the snares that Ludwig provided them. So that wooden snare drum, this one, is about a $500 drum, so that was a heck of a deal. Originally I was looking at a Keystone X set, and a lot of people advised me that that was just not very versatile as far as sound, that it's just pretty loud because of the oak outer and inner plies. So it was recommended to me to spend a little bit extra and go with the Classic Maple. And what that actually, the free snare drum actually allowed me to buy the Classic Maple kit for only about $190 more than what a Keystone X would have cost. So I'm pretty happy with that, considering that this is, other than the Legacy series, pretty much Ludwig's top of the line. Now, this kit has the large classic lugs, if you're wondering how they're equipped, and that was the way that Sweetwater orders them. This has the Atlas tom mount, so that replaces a lug. I'm guessing if you're watching this video, you're pretty familiar with what that is. And that takes the bigger 12.7 millimeter posts. Remo heads with Ludwig branding on them. And there you can see the inner maple. These are 7 plies of maple, again, with the real nice Keystone badge. So there's the tom. And also came with another warranty card, and real hard to see, I'm not going to get up and come close to the camera, but that's a memory lock for that tom post. Okay, so this is almost the largest box. This is the 16 by 16 floor tom. I ordered 3 more drums, and those are being custom made right now in Monroe to go with this kit. And one of the things I was really concerned about was I was unsure of what hardware configuration that Sweetwater orders. So I needed to ask them, is it the large classic lug? Because I wanted to think about that when I ordered my 14x14 floor tom. So doing some research online, the Ludwig typically in the 70s, when you got smaller than that 9x13 tom, started to put mini classic lugs. So I have a 7x10 and an 8x12 rack tom coming. Both of those will have the mini classic lugs, and that just allows more of the finish to show. And it's kind of a traditional thing that Ludwig does. So this will be possibly a little hard to see. As someone who, my first drum kit was a 1966, no, I'm not that old, but it was found in an attic, and it was a 1966 Super Classic and Sparkling Pink Champagne, these same size drums. But one of the things about these modern Ludwig kits, most of them, is that they have, and I just pulled the foot off there, but I'll just pop that back on, but they have a much larger diameter floor tom leg. A lot of people aren't digging those, but if you're, this is the way that Sweetwater sells them. If you order a kit from Ludwig and you truly go full custom all the way on every drum, you can absolutely order the classic tom leg, which is the much thinner diameter. So these are really, really beefy legs, very big rubber foot on the bottom of them, and these have some weight. In fact, Ludwig will often show that you can place cymbal arms and things and clamp them to these bigger 12mm posts. All right, so I'll try to take this out. That has some good weight to it, that's for sure. This packing, a lot of the, I guess I should get back in, nobody really wants to see me, but I'll get back in frame here. This is a kind of, feels like a high density, there's some foam in there as well as some air. A lot of the other, the few videos that I saw, they used a lot of cardboard packaging, kind of triangles in the corners. But this one is pretty much filled with these inflatable air bladders. And I guess that's pretty much the norm. What I do not see in that is the little warranty card, but it's probably in there somewhere. Okay, so let's uncover this, and I'll show you another thing about this floor tom. We talked about the legs, and I already mentioned the classic legs. If you like those smaller, thinner legs. Again, this has Remo heads, top and bottom, with the Ludwig branding on. So these are Ludwig heads, but made by Remo. So this floor tom has what Ludwig is calling, I've seen it called the keystone, or sometimes you'll see it called the triad. So it mounts, much like the classic Ludwig floor tom leg mount, it mounts directly to the shell. Ludwig, however, also offers that Atlas mount that I showed you on the floor, or on the rack tom, excuse me, and that would go in place of 3 of these, large classic, or it will work also with the mini classic lugs. Same kind of legs, beefy legs, but nothing else mounted to the drum. Again, this is the way Sweetwater sells these, so if you happen to pick up one of these kits with the free snare drum, which I highly recommend, you will get this keystone or triad mount. There's a lot of discussion boards online for drummers. I'm sure, again, if you're watching this, you probably visit those. This hardware, I guess, was designed by the guy that went on to do the indie drums and hardware. So this was his design before he left Ludwig. It really only touches, I don't know if you can see this, but it really only touches the shell in a couple spots. There is an opening there. So it's not completely going to totally mess the resonance of the drum, but a lot of people like those virgin drums and don't like things. So They do stick out quite a bit, and I've heard people say that a regular 16 by 16 bag will not work on these, that a lot of people are getting 18-inch floor tom bags for the 16-inch floor tom. All right, so that brings us to the bass drum. And this bass drum barely fits through the door in the box. But what was interesting, luckily I had a business that I could ship this to. Sweetwater packaged all these drums together, put them on a skid in a huge box, along with some of these accessories that you see along the wall behind me, which I'll set up and add to this video. But they put everything together. It was huge. It weighed 237 pounds. And my son was very nice to help me move the stuff out move it out of the big box and put it here. So additional parts inside. Guessing here that these are probably the bass drum Spurs. Well, no. Okay, so actually this is interesting. So I asked my sales engineer, I think is what Sweetwater calls him, about a tom. He said you'll need a tom bracket, and I thought that when Ludwig did these kits that they included a single tom arm, and indeed here it is in the box with the bass drum. So there is an Atlas single tom arm that I can attach with this clamp and place that on one of my cymbal stands. So I actually ordered a Gibraltar because the sales engineer was under the assumption that it doesn't come with this. So put that away in your memory banks. This is about a $50, $40 to $50 part depending on where you buy it. So that is included for the rack tom. Good to know. Getting lots of foam packing there. Another warranty paper. Okay, let's see if I can get this out of here without hitting myself in the face. This gives you a really good look at the finish as soon as I get it out of the bag. Love the look of this with the inlaid on the bass drum hoops. In that, again, this is called turquoise glitter. It's not a sparkle. So, and I believe the Ludwig glitter finish is supposed to have a few different color flakes in them, make them a little bit more interesting when lights hit them. Don't have any lights like that here, so I won't be able to test that out. There's the bass drum resin head. It's a Riemann, I think it's a Power Stroke 3, as is what is on the back. Yeah, it's a Power Stroke 3 with the classic Ludwig logo on it. You can order these, again, if you custom order. You can actually get, if you really want to go with that old school vibe, you can get the T-rods still as an upcharge for the bass drum. So my 66 kit had the adjustable T-rods that you didn't use a drum key to tune the bass drum. And Ludwig still will allow you to recreate that look, but you have to pay for it. Spurs are here. All that hardware is all themed around that Atlas, so it has the keystone built into it, kind of like a wing on all those thumb screws. So drum key based extra lock here for when you extend the legs. So far, really impressed. Finish looks good. These were received at Sweetwater according to the stickers in October. So I'm guessing, actually October 31st, Halloween. I'm guessing that these were probably made mid-October and then shipped out to them. Of course, Ludwig serial numbers now, it's a little harder than it used to be. They stamped the drums up until, probably about 8 or 9 years ago. They stopped consistently stamping them. So, but like I said, they are consecutive serial numbers with the exception of the snare drum. So I'm going to get rid of all this packing material, make sure I didn't leave anything in the boxes, and then I'll set it up. Don't think I'll play it yet because by the time I'm done it's going to be a little too late to start mashing away. Plus I'll have to tune them up a bit. So I will be back here once I clear all this trash, and we'll set it up and take a look at everything. Alright, so I have things set up here. Ludwig Atlas standard hardware. I went with a hardware pack, which one of the things with Sweetwater is if you call them and talk to one of their sales engineers, they typically will give you a little better pricing than what you find online. So I was able to save about $40 on the Atlas standard hardware pack, about $20 on the Atlas Classic saddle throne. And the add-on pieces, I added on another boom straight combo stand. That was the same price that was advertised online. So as far as cymbals go, because I've had an electronic set for the last 5 or 6 years, and I got rid of all my cymbals when I sold my last acoustic set probably 10 years ago. And so I had to get cymbals, and of course those are really pricey. And I've always been a Zildjian guy, so I decided to get a Zildjian cymbal pack, and I went with the A Customs. And I know there's a lot of discussion out there about, are these cymbal packs any good? I'm trusting that they've matched them fairly well. So I'm going to set up the cymbals. I'll probably have to move quite a bit of stuff around here to make it set up the way I want. And then after I get the cymbals set up, I did discover a few more things that I can share about this kit. So I'll set up the cymbals now, and we're going to kind of look at the whole set with all the cymbals. Well, I don't have everything dialed in yet. I still need to move some things around. Like I said, this is the first acoustic kit I've had in probably 10 years, so I still have to get some things set up. So what will be happening next over the next few days? Of course, I'll have to tune these up. They still, they actually sound pretty decent, but they need to be cranked up a little bit. They're pretty loose coming out of the box. Some first impression things. The one bass drum spur on the left side from the viewer's perspective here, on this side of the drum, won't extend. I have a feeling that will loosen up a little bit. It's probably just from not being moved around a whole lot. So I'm guessing that will extend, and if it doesn't, I'm sure that when I contact Sweetwater, they can get a hold of Ludwig and get that part. Cymbals, I really like the sound so far, and again, once I practice a little bit more and get these tuned up, I'll put another video up with some sound so you can hear what the drums sound like. The Atlas tom holder works really well. I don't get a whole lot of wobble. There's actually this rubber gasket on the Atlas tom holder, which works almost like a rims or any kind of suspension system. So it will vibrate a bit, and that's by design to isolate that metal. When I move this tom over, when I get my 10 and 12 inch toms, I will put those here. I'll move the 9x13 over. And in order to keep that keystone badge out, which I will probably want to do, I simply remove the hardware. I'll remove this Atlas mount, move it over, slide one of these lugs back into place there. So, and those Atlas mounts work with the mini lugs as well. So when I get those two toms, if the Atlas mount isn't where it needs to be, I'm guessing it will be, but if they aren't where they need to be, I will then, I'll have to move them around. So I'll put the two small toms over here. I have a dual tom stand coming, and that will force me to move the cymbals around a little bit. I'll also be able to get another cymbal arm and pick up a splash or some other kind of effect cymbal to put in here. I still have to get some things moved around. The ride's not quite exactly where I want it. I'm not sold on this. Unfortunately, I have a couch over here. So the couch is going. That will open up some room here, and I won't have to trip as I get behind the set. A couple couple other things I learned about the drum set, as I mentioned the Spur, I mentioned the Atlas bracket. I really like the hardware, the Ludwig Atlas standard hardware. Chrome plating is really nice on it. The bass drum pedal, I have not messed with it at all, but it does have a little bit of, it's got a little rattle to it. Again, I haven't tuned this yet, but I'm guessing the spring tension is just pretty low. Once I bring it up a little bit more, that will get rid of that rattling sound. I like the boom straight option here. The hardware looks really, really good. I like that all of the thumb screw here, the tighteners and stuff, all are the same throughout the kit. One thing Ludwig does that's interesting as well is that not only is the Keystone logo on these, the Ludwig 1970s kind of that we're used to seeing with those olive and blue badges, that logo is also on these stands. So if you ordered a custom kit, you can get the olive and blue badges on it. And that way the hardware has both the Keystone and the olive and blue badge kind of style Ludwig logo on it. Some other things I found, I mentioned the date on the box was October 31st. As I looked at the warranty information that came with the three-piece set, I did find in here that this set was approved on October 28th. So Sweetwater received it 3 days later. So it was probably made very close to the end of October, or probably just a few days before it was inspected and sent out. This snare drum was made, approved September 6th. So relatively new. They didn't sit there very long until Sweetwater got them. The other thing that was in with the bass drum, which kind of surprised me, and I don't think I'm going to use it, but there is a dynamo in there. If I wanted to cut the bass drum head, you know, this is just kind of a cheapo way, but it's nice that they give you the option. They even have the little directions in with it in case you can't figure out how to cut a hole. That will show you how to do it. So far, I'm really pleased. I love the way the kit looks. I'll get that 14-inch floor tom. There's two other rack toms in here and have a complete setup. And really the reason I was doing that is this is the last kit I'll buy. I'm pretty sure that I won't be picking anything else up. And that gives me some tom flexibility depending on what kind of things I need to play. I can have some smaller toms, smaller floor tom. Bass drum's 22-inch. I like that as a good intermediate size. I didn't want to go to a 24, that's for sure. 20s are cool, but I think the 22 gives me a lot of versatility. So I'll be sharing another video with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you weren't bothered too much by my voice and my lovely floral couch here, if you can see it in the frame.